beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode on your intuitive reality. Like I talked about last week in really going through and breaking down this full life assessment, we're going to go into redefining your emotional triggers, the components of how your emotions play a role in your energetic, your intuitive reality that you live out each day. We're going to be covering 4 things today. Our main things we're going to be covering is what is an emotional trigger. I really love to make sure that we define what we're going to talk about so we're all on the same page and understand moving forward. We're also going to talk about how do these happen? How do these emotional triggers happen? What is the anatomy component of all of it? And how does this create your perception? And of course, we're going to end off with redefining the experience and what you can do to rewrite the experience that you're having.
Hey everyone, it's Joey from the MyRealityPractice Network. Thanks so much for watching. Stay tuned after the show and find out how you can work one-on-one with your show host as they guide you through this process of ascension. Until then, enjoy the show.
Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to another episode on your intuitive reality. Like I talked about last week in really going through and breaking down this full life assessment, we're going to go into redefining your emotional triggers, the components of how your emotions play a role in your energetic, your intuitive reality that you live out each day. We're going to be covering 4 things today. Our main things we're going to be covering is what is an emotional trigger? I really love to make sure that we define what we're going to talk about so we're all on the same page and understand moving forward. We're also going to talk about how do these happen? How do these emotional triggers happen? What is the anatomy component of all of it? And how does this create your perception? And of course, we're going to end off with redefining the experience and what you can do to rewrite the experience that you're having. Intuition is all about leading with this really profound effect of energy, the emotional, the mental, the spiritual, the physical. Though we are trained and conditioned to live and do everything through the physical, what we see, what we hear, what we feel, what we touch, that's real. That's not, in fact, actually the case. And so here today, we're going to really uncover how the emotional component holds you back from being able to live out an intuitive reality in your life. So first, I really want to take a moment to connect into what an emotional trigger is. An emotional trigger is something that causes distress in your body that then creates distress in your life. So if something happens that starts causing you anxiety, there's a sense of causation of distress. Now, everything around you, though not realistically, emotionally becomes a threat. And I know you're not available for that anymore. And I want to support you in understanding this, going deeper with this, and freeing yourself of this. We're working through the analogy of free in our 4 sessions throughout this time. And so I'm really excited to dig into this one with you today. So as we start to feel this emotional distress come over us. Now, if you're someone, there we go, who identifies as being anxious or highly intuitive or highly sensitive or very empathic, you're really going to understand that when something happens, sometimes you don't even know what happens, and we're going to dig into that. Sometimes you don't even know what causes this emotional distress to come over you. It could be a traffic light. It could be a car driving too close to you. It could be a person showing up. It could be a phone call. It could be a feeling. It could be just the energy of the environment that you're in. Sometimes these things truly come out of nowhere, but we're going to define where they actually come from today, because nothing just happens for no reason. There is truly a reason for everything. So as we're being affected and these emotional triggers are coming up for you in your life, I really want to help you to understand that you're actually way more in control of these experiences than you realize. But there is a part of your brain that has been running on autopilot. And so the more you learn and the more you become aware, the easier it is for you to truly move beyond that experience that you believe and truly feel like has control over your life. And I'm here to share with you the good news that no longer will it anymore. I also want you to understand before we really dig into this, that this is a practice. Leading and living an intuitive reality and intuitive life really, truly does require practice. It's not something that overnight you're going to all of a sudden experience, just like not overnight you reshape and experience different habits, right? Those are things, it's a muscle. You got to work. You got to work the muscle in order for you to be able to experience all of its greatness, right? When you exercise, when you're losing weight, such a great example. You don't just do it overnight because one day you decided, well, this doesn't work for me anymore. It's a practice. It's a behavior. It's a habit that you put into place. It's a commitment. It's a dedication that you see through all the way to the end. And what often holds a lot of people up when it comes to connecting with their intuition is that they don't understand the emotional component of how their energy is being influenced and affected. And I am so excited to help bring so much clarity around this topic for you right now. All right, so let's go into how emotional triggers happen. This has been one of the most fascinating things for me to really go through, understand, and study. The more and more that I continue to get into intuitive work and really understanding how our intuition moves through us on such a deep cellular level. So how does this happen? How do emotional triggers happen? How do we have these responses and these reactions? First, you have to understand three components to your brain. You have your conscious brain, which is basically your ability to move throughout your day-to-day. You see the birds, you see the people, you relatively choose your next words in your conversation, you get dressed, you eat your food. And then we have our subconscious mind, and our subconscious mind is based off of our defense mechanisms. This is really what gives us the lens in which we see out in our conscious life, in our reality, in our physical world, is based off of our perception. And that's really stored within our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind also has the term a critical factor or a defense mechanism, because when certain things happen in what you're seeing, in the lens that you're viewing your physical life, the way you're getting dressed, the clothes you're choosing, the people you're talking to, the places that you're going, the things that you're doing, you're seeing through this lens of perception. And on the third level is our unconscious mind. This is where our automatic programs and habits and beliefs and ideologies and all those types of things take place. They are ingrained within our system. And so all of that automatic storage then creates a perception. That perception has a defense mechanism that tells our conscious mind, hey, we don't want to be disappointed. So stick with what we know at the bottom, stick with what we know in the unconscious mind, and everything in our conscious world will seemingly be predictable. If you're someone who at this point in your life is tired of doing the same thing, living the same life with the same people, overwhelmed by the same stuff, it's because of that automatic programming that exists within your unconscious mind. Now, often terms, the word automatic programming can be very overused a lot in our society nowadays, and it has a negative connotation. But understand that everything you experience is actually neutral. We as human beings or someone else gives it an emotional component, which is then what creates that defense mechanism to what we perceive in our reality. And based on what we're doing or where we're going or what we know, it will protect us from being disappointed in our subconscious mind. So as you're going about your day and you bump into your friend Susan, and Susan has this beautiful dress on and this beautiful smile on her face, and she is so excited. She's on her way to work. She's feeling a little bit flustered because she knows that she's behind, but for the most part, she's really just happy to be alive. And Susan is one of those people in your life that just loves, like she loves with such an open heart. She's so giving, she's so caring, but she's also just as open about when she gets to have that time for herself. So Susan's someone who really respects her own boundaries. She's someone who really loves to love but she also makes sure that she takes care of herself. Now, as you're walking down the street and you bump into Susan, and Susan is so happy-go-lucky as she usually normally is, and you're in this state where you're stressed about your bills or being late for work yourself, or, something happening in your life, and Susan comes up to you with this big, fabulous energy, and you become emotionally triggered, you have to pause and ask yourself why. We're going to get into this component more towards the end, but this is what I'm talking about when I talk about unconscious emotional triggers. You're in a certain vibration. You're in a certain state of being. You're in a certain emotional pattern right now. And based off your past, your automatic programmed beliefs and habits and all the things that you experienced before, your memories, life that took place far beyond this moment, now have given you evidence of how certain beliefs, ideologies, and experiences and habits are going to go. You're triggered by the fact that someone's content right now. I'm going to give another example in a moment, but I really want to finish this one because oftentimes most people will find themselves triggered when they're around someone who is in a higher vibration. Susan is just Susan. You know how Susan is. She's happy-go-lucky, but she respects herself. She takes care of herself. She has this really beautiful balance. And we're humans. We get overwhelmed. Things happen, but she understands where she's going. You, on the other hand, are stuck in this mentality that's keeping you locked in shame or guilt or overwhelm or anxiety of being out of control of something in your reality. And so Susan's energy comes about and she just lights that up. It's like all of a sudden she held the spotlight on you and she's like, hey, look at where you're not right now. Our defense mechanism, our critical factor, our subconscious, is going to kick in to say, the sooner that we blow Susan off, the easier it is for us to really just continue to perpetuate wherever we are right now. And if you're someone who's highly anxious or sensitive to energy or sensitive to emotions or just someone who gets really overwhelmed by other people, environments, that spotlight that Susan's unconscious mind is shining on you is going to emotionally trigger your defense mechanism, your subconscious mind. Now, in your conscious reality, walking down the street, seeing Susan, all you're seeing is this woman with a beautiful smile on her face, the beautiful dress. She's just Susan. She's going about her day. But underneath it all, there is all these factors like a machine working with each other to try and keep you in a certain state of being. Does that make sense? I want to give you another example. You go to get your mail and you receive this unexpected bill. And it's $400 or $500 that you just really don't have right now. Like you might have it, you could probably get it, but ultimately you just really don't have it right now. And you've been working on yourself and you've been, reshaping and redefining and changing your habits and your behaviors. And you're really becoming more mindful of the way that you are in your reality. And this unexpected bill comes into the mail and it says, you haven't done enough. No. Your subconscious mind kicks in and says, you haven't done enough. But in your conscious reality, based on the perception, the critical factor, the defense mechanism, and the things, the memories of the past, the beliefs that might not fully be ingrained, the habits that might not be fully integrated, and the systems of your approach of the things that you're doing that might not be fully embedded in your cells are triggering a certain lens that which then in your conscious reality, what you're living out, you're seeing now as a threat. That bill is just a bill. Somewhere along the line, you used more power than you expected. Maybe it's an error on the company, which you can call and you can sort out and you can ask. But either way, at the end of the day, you may or may not have to pay that bill. Point is that the bill has actually no emotions attached to it. But how you're perceiving it is based on these 3 layers of understanding, of moving through your reality. And as you decide that all this work that you've done and all these experiences that you've been tuning into, the communities, the networks, the practices, the courses, the programs, all the things. In that moment, your mind is working between two realities. It's working between the reality of not being good enough based on all this evidence in the past of when things didn't work out, and this new reality of really asking you to apply your self-awareness, your intuitive development, your faith to shifting and holding a higher vibrational state. So in my first example with Susan is really an example of someone who's just completely unaware. Susan walks down the street. She's happy-go-lucky as can be. Your subconscious kicks in, your defense mechanism kicks in and says, hey, as soon as we can get rid of this person, we can keep going and perpetuating these thoughts. And hopefully somewhere, somehow this works out. That is a more unconscious person who's living in a lot of automatic programmings. Okay. They're not someone who's necessarily doing the work. But in my second example, the person who receives the extra $500 unexpected bill in the mail around their power, who has been doing work, who has been applying themselves, and that might be you, and you might have been on this journey for a short period of time or a long period of time. But in those moments when those emotional triggers come up, those automatic from the past, they're always from the past, reactions come up. It is your opportunity to step back and apply what you have been learning to ask yourself, how do I want to experience this right now? Okay, so this is how we create perception. We tend to think that if we put a picture on a board or we hope and pray and dream enough, that it all just works out. But in fact, that's not true. Though I do believe in miracles. I want to just drop that in. I was going to move forward and then I was like, no, miracles exist. However, in most cases, it's because of your ability to have this understanding of self-mastery and really working through these components within yourself that allows you to shift and change the vibration that you're in. Okay. Everything you experience outside of you is a direct reflection of the energy that is stored within you. You have to think of magnets, right? Like attracts like, law of attraction. Law of attraction isn't just about all the money and all the people and all the great things. Law of attraction, again, is neutral. It's a concept, and we as humans place emotions to those concepts and constructs. Law of attraction states that what is within you will be attracted to you. That's the whole concept in a nutshell. But that's what it is, emotionally detached, neutral. So if you're constantly getting unexpected things happening that are unideal, it's a beautiful opportunity for you to really step back and ask yourself, what is the defense mechanism telling me? And underneath that defense mechanism, your subconscious mind, you have to understand, does not want to be disappointed. So it will tell you and share with you all the thoughts to help keep you what seems like safe and protected. And most times it usually perpetuates a deeper sense of chaos because at least you already know what anxiety feels like. It's crippling, it's defeating, it creates a headache, it causes all these internal inflammatory issues. But at least you know what to expect. So you can't be disappointed. It sucks. It's probably not very fun, but you know what to expect, or for the most part, you know how to put the band-aids over those experiences. Whereas underneath that, you have to ask yourself, what's going on under the surface? What are my beliefs in this moment? You get that unexpected bill in the mail and you want to cry. You want to be angry. You want to get mad. You want to be frustrated. Anxiety hits. Whoa, where am I going to deal with this? How am I going to deal with this? What's going to come of this? You have to ask yourself in those moments, what belief do I have right now that is attaching me to this experience? This is where self-mastery comes in. And as we move throughout this series of your intuitive reality, we're going to go so deep within this. This is a really deep concept, but I want to give you a surface level understanding of it because we're going to be using it so much throughout the series that by the end of the series, you're really going to be practicing this in real time. Okay. So you have to ask yourself, what is creating this perception? What is the belief that is calling this into my life energetically? What are the habits that I have right now that are calling this into my life energetically? And when you did the full self-assessment, one of those categories is yourself. What are your beliefs? What are your habits? What do you think about you? How do you treat yourself? How do you speak to yourself, right? And so as you look at that, how do you speak to yourself? When you go and you get your clothes ready for the day, or you're looking in the mirror when you're getting ready in the morning, or you're going to get your breakfast, or whatever that looks like, what is the language? What is the conversation you're having with you? Because that's really going to give you a lot of insight as to what energy is moving through your system. Are you more like Susan, right? Sure, there's improvement that always can be made. Human beings, evolution, we get to strive for greater. But what do those conversations look like? Do you often find yourself more speaking more negatively to you? Do you find yourself thinking more negatively towards yourself? Do you often tend to shy away from social experiences because you don't feel good enough for them? And I share this with you not because this is an attack. So I know that this will reach so many people, millions of people, that someone will get triggered by this. But the point is that as we talk about emotional triggers, you have to pause and ask yourself, whoa, she's just speaking to what I'm feeling and doing. I'm maybe not ready to address that yet. What memories from the past are operating in your unconscious mind that are kicking into defense mode in your subconscious, that are protecting you with defense, with lack of disappointment, or hopefully lack of disappointment in what you perceive in your conscious reality, right? My work isn't here to give you all the fairy dust. There's a lot of that comes with this level of awareness and really doing this work and applying yourself. That's why in the beginning, I really led with that. This is a muscle. You have to practice it to really integrate it. But my work is here to be honest, ethical, and moral, which really is similar to ethics and morals, sort of. But the point is that you're here because something called you here. You're likely facing something in your life right now that's causing emotional triggers. It is not by coincidence that you landed on this video. And it is not by coincidence that you're learning about this very concept today. And so I really invite you to pause and ask yourself, what's going on in your unconscious mind to create this experience that you are perceiving? Because the truth is that until you're more aware of how you're operating in your life, you are unaware that you're even alive in your life. I'm going to say that again. I need to raise myself up for this one. Until you become aware of how you operate in your life, you are unaware, you are unalive living in your life. What does that mean? That means that for anyone who is listening to this and you haven't done the self-assessment, or you did it, but you kind of hemmed and hawed through it, and you skipped over a lot of honest opportunities for you to really look at the evaluation of yourself, your habits, your health, your finances, people in your life, you're probably finding yourself very emotionally triggered by this video right now. And I want you to know that there is a choice, there are options, and we're going to go into how to do this in 1 minute. Okay. You're so much more in control of your life than you realize. And your intuitive reality that you desire to live out, the abundance and bliss and joy and energy and going with the flow and heart opened hell yeses to all the things, that comes from putting this into practice. That comes from understanding how your energy operates through you. That comes from when you're emotionally triggered by what someone says, or a bill in the mail, or Susan's beautiful flamboyant energy on the street, that you stop and pause and ask yourself, ooh, why is this coming up for me right now? Make sense? because I really want you to get this. Because it means that you have an option, especially if you're someone who's really defined your life by someone who's highly anxious or highly empathic or highly sensitive. These are just stories and habits and behaviors and beliefs that you have ingrained unconsciously to tell you that there's no other option. So your subconscious, your defense mechanism kicks in when there is an option presented to you that gives you this perception like something is a threat. This video may be that threat. And now you're emotionally reactive. And I want you to know that that doesn't have to be the case. And it starts with you looking at why. Why? Where is this coming from? Okay? Because what you might be viewing as a threat from this video is actually stemming from something around childhood. Maybe there was a sense of abandonment or neglect or guilt or shame that was constantly placed on you, or rejection. And now, as you find out that these emotions aren't necessarily your story, your subconscious kicks in to say, ooh, that's too much. We're really good at knowing and predicting all of what happens when we just have the emotions and we're stuck in the emotions and we're confined by the stories and chained to the past. Let's stay there. But your conscious mind is leaning in, hopefully, and saying, I wonder what she's talking about. What could that look like in my life? Do you mean to tell me that I don't have to be consumed by these emotions? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. So let me walk you through how. Okay, there's two components to redefining your emotional triggers. The first one is, this is where practice really, really, really comes into play. And I cannot emphasize this enough. When you become emotionally reactive, this is where you build the habit, the behavior of pausing. What does that mean? You run into Susan on the street with her beautiful flamboyant energy and smiles, and she knows that she's late, but she's like, I'll get there on God's timing. She's excited. She's in gratitude. She gets it. Okay. And you're emotionally triggered. Oh, the faster we can get rid of her, the better we're going to be. So we can just stay focused on what we're dealing with right now. Cause like, I don't have time for this. Pause. Deep breath in, deep breath out. I do this often, not as often as I used to, but there's a lot of people around me right now triggering me. And not because they're better or worse, or I'm better or worse, but because there's so much energy moving through me as I ascend into new levels of my own growth. My clients found a radical difference in their life applying this and not being emotionally triggered eventually by the people that once created a confinement or what they thought was a confinement in their life. You pause. It could be the middle of a conversation and you pause and you take a breath. You have to reset. You have to reconnect with your breath. Your breath is the neutralizing component that keeps you connected to your sanctuary. Okay. Your breath will tell you whether you're in fight or flight mode when your breaths are sharp and shallow, or whether you're in the parasympathetic. There we go. That word gets me every time. Parasympathetic. There we go. Nervous system, which is your calming, relaxed state of mind. So as you pause and you deep breathe, you reset your entire energy. Now your awareness can kick in. Now your consciousness can actually come online beyond the automatic programming and beyond the defense mechanism to say, what's going on here? Susan interrupted me what seems like at the perfect time, because I was headed for this straight and narrow path of this day is doomed because of these things. Maybe it was the unexpected bill you got in the morning that day. And Susan interrupted me and is mirroring to me joy, happiness, gratitude, carefree, divine timing. Interesting. What's really going on? And you can pause and you can reset. And as you reset, you begin to redefine your emotional triggers because you start asking different questions instead of being like this. Oh, that bill that I got, and I can't believe it. I don't know how I'm going to pay it. And how's this going to work out? And oh, I'm going to have to pull it from here. And I'm going to have to do this. And I might have to go over here. And I might have to ask this person and all these things and anxiety. Now you take the blinders off and you ask yourself, what is Susan mirroring to me right now? Or what is this emotional trigger showing me right now? Maybe it's not a person. Maybe it's something. Could be an environment. What is this emotional trigger showing me right now? This question, I highly encourage you to take a sticky note and write it down and even put it on your phone, especially if you're someone who's really controlled around the belief of being a highly anxious person or a highly sensitive person or an empathic person, which, by the way, we're all empathic. Really start asking yourself this question after you pause and you reset, because it's going to open up your ability to have a higher level of awareness, which inevitably is going to give you more personal insight into where these emotional triggers are actually coming from. And as you start to connect the dots that it's from the past, which is no longer your present, or your past has some unsettled business that you're bringing into your present, you can really go deeper within your healing. So I hope this video serves you well. And I would love to hear your takeaways and your feedback. Come and reach out to me on Instagram at ryleejune.ca. And I just so look forward to sharing even more with you next week. Next week, we're going to be digging into evaluating what's important now and how these first two components really ties into this higher level of awareness and raising your energetic vibration as we then tie it off with, we have one more. I will get it to you in the next video, because it just totally slipped my mind. I could really keep going with this topic, but I want to really give you these beautiful moments of connection so that you can digest. You're not too overwhelmed with information. This was a big one today, so I hope you had a paper and pen. If you didn't, you're definitely going to want to rewatch this and come back and really just sit with what we talked about today, because this is going to be one of the biggest things that really help you to lead a more intuitive life. Have your intuitive reality. All right. I love you. Don't forget to find the magic in today, and we will connect soon.
Hey everyone, it's Joey again. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the show. Please make sure to give it a thumbs up if you did. We'd love to hear your comments too. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell to never miss an episode from the Reality Practice Network. As I mentioned before the show, I wanted to extend an exclusive offer to you, the viewers of the Reality Practice Network. For all of you watching this video, you're undoubtedly experiencing an awakening and are searching for more explanation into the experiences you're having. Now is the time to explore who and what you truly are. For a limited time, you can now work one-on-one with your show host. Click the link in the description box below to start your journey, or learn more by going to myrealitypractice.com/ascension and let your ascension begin. And remember to ask yourself, what reality are you choosing to create today?